Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Shahid Kamred and I'm a Secretary General Pakistan USA Freedom Forum. We are blessed that we have a learned person with us, Sardar Amarjeet Singh, Dr. Amarjeet Singh. And as earlier I introduced you that I will ask him some questions. He will tell us that how much bigger India, how many provinces, and how much Sikh living in the things, and what happened in 1984, and what the lesson they learned from their elders, Master Kartar Singh in 1947 and the selfish Indian leadership of Kashmir in 1947, who give us the lesson, Modi, that don't trust, fight for your Kashmiri, fight for your rights with your own. So Dr. Amarjeet Singh, is wonderful to see a beautiful demonstration today. And what are you going to say today? And you have some announcement for 2020 as a Sikh brother?
I think today the show of solidarity between the Sikhs, those who are fighting for their own independent sovereign nation of Khalistan, and Indian occupied Kashmir people, which Kashmir has been turned into a information black hole. The people in the valley are just trapped like in a cage, and it was a show of solidarity. At the same time, both the nations, they feel betrayed. As in 1947 era, it was Sikh leader Master Tara Singh who trusted Congress and threw his weight behind Congress, and the fate of the Sikhs was sealed as they didn't ask for their own nation but joined with India. Similarly, Sheikh Abdullah in Jammu and Kashmir, friend of Nehru, he didn't trust Quaid-e-Azam and eventually sided with India in the name of Article 370, where three portfolios like communication, defense and foreign affairs were with the federal government and the state was autonomous. But what happened on August 5th is like betrayal is complete now. Kashmiris are...
August 15, 2019.
Yeah, actually now Jammu and Kashmir don't even exist as a state in the Indian map. And what the Kashmiri people are going through for the last almost 10 days, where it is a total cage and they are captives, not allowed even to come to their mosques to pray, and outside world don't knows what is happening there. So I think the lesson is that when you get a chance to carve out your own place for your own liberty, then trusting Congress or so-called these today's Modi brand people, those who believe in the so-called Hindutva ideology, which is like
Hindutva
on the outer side, they say,
just like KKK, some kind of...
Yeah, exactly. As in the 1930s, whatever the Nazis stood for, and RSS founders were impressed by the Nazi ideology, and they founded RSS on the same principle, Hindu, Hindi, Hindustan. And I think now that betrayed people, they are coming together to find out that how we can liberate ourselves from the yoke of these Hindu imperialists. So I think today's rally, which started from the Indian mission, India's UN mission in New York, and walked all the way to UN headquarters, and flag of Khalistan as well as Azad Kashmir were hoisted. On one hand, that shows solidarity. On the other hand, on a working day, hundreds of people marched. They were here.
Yes.
That showed the zeal in these two nations.
There's a lot of women
captive in Indian map to get out of the Indian hegemony and carve out their own nation. So that is the message of today's protest rally.
Dr. Amarjeet, you are very internationalist, I think. I know as a General Secretary of Pakistan USA Freedom Forum, I listen to your lectures and your call for the peace and dialogue. And what do you think, what kind of world we're living in this moment when the Trump, one of the richest and one of the most country who own the weapon of mass destruction, they're saying that if you are apply for the green card, or you are pregnant, you have a green card, or your green card can be questionable if you apply for any help. So is there any way we can live in this world as a poor?
I think unfortunately after the end of the Second World War, one slogan was heard in the world, never again. As the extreme Nazi ideology not only led to the destruction of Germany, there were millions and millions of people all over Europe, in Central Asia, in South Asia, where people died in the Second World War. and the United Nations came out of it, that the thing should be resolved by dialogue. Charter of Human Rights came out of that. Refugee law and refugee conventions came out of that. But unfortunately, in the past couple of years, we are seeing this rise of ultra-nationalism in the United States of America, in Europe and in India as well. We are seeing a Nazi ideology party, Hindu ideologue, they are ruling the roost today. So I think this is unfortunate, but I have believe in the American people, American system, that eventually in America there was a time when Ku Klux Klan was the rising thing.
KKK.
KKK today they had been marginalized. Then there was a time there were admirers of Nazis and fascist Mussolini, but eventually, and there was a segregation, there was slavery, but eventually American spirit triumphs. And I believe that now this is the time, and Trump may come again in 2020, but majority American people and all patriots here, those who believe that in the end of the day, there shouldn't be any discrimination basis for caste, color, creed, gender to discriminate against the fellow human beings. And as a human being, I think this, it may look like that today it has gotten a bashing from these ultra-nationalists, but eventually I think not only American spirit will triumph in this country, overall globally these ultra-nationalists and racists will be beaten, and again that rise of humanitarianism and this world as a global village, which concept a couple of years ago seemed to be a reality, but all of a sudden it took a upside down line. But ultimately human spirit will prevail, human spirit will triumph, and there will be equality, egalitarianism and equalitarianism, which will be the winners in the end.
If you are a very angry person, you will maybe feeling a little bit different because it's the highest positive note from the Dr. Amarjeet Singh. But as Secretary of General Pakistan USA Freedom Forum, we always said, and we said before 35 years, there's the NGOs, international NGOs. They are the arm of the spy agencies of the West, like a CIA and the British and European, against the poor. So Dr. Amarjeet, how we can tackle this kind of stuff in Australia against the Aborigines, New Zealand against the Maoris tribes, African, Tutsi thing, what happened? And when we claim that we are exceptional Americanism, what's mean as exceptional Americanism? Mean that if something happened good, it's belong to us. And if something happened in this world, dirtiness and low level things, it's not belong to us then. In my opinion, my organization opinion, buck stop here. So what do you think about this thing? Somebody has to take a responsibility.
No, I think in the 7,000-8,000 years of human history, it may be monarchies, dynasties, fascism, communism, or even in the name of democracy today, what is happening in India. We have seen oppression, suppression, we have seen basic liberties being denied to the common citizen. But as an optimist, I always think that it's not, you can't legislate human nature. And human beings at times can use whatever system they have to carry on their personal agenda of their vested interests and hatred as the commercial model or this multinational model we are seeing. But as I said, that eventually the struggle for equality, egalitarianism, that starts with the day when the devil tried to take away the basic rights, but good people came forward to challenge. Few NGOs may be working for their akas or for their honor for certain reason, but there are selfless people as well, those who reach wherever there is a disaster, it may be tsunami or Katrina or earthquake and all, they go for humanitarianism. And as a Sikh, I know Sikh organizations like United Sikhs, Sikh Aid, they are the ones who are with the Rohingya Muslims in Burma. They were with the Pakistani people during the earthquake, and today they are with the Kashmiri boys and girls in all over India, making sure that they are made to reach there. So I think NGOs, some, yes, they are used as a front by the spy agencies to infiltrate there. But at the same time, there are regrets for the past, like Canada. Justin Trudeau is a good example, who tried to give solace to the Middle Eastern people from Syria, refugees. He himself went to welcome there. Similarly, he asked for forgiveness from the native Canadians, whatever they have done, asked for forgiveness from the Sikhs for Kamagata Maru episode which happened 100 years ago when Sikhs were denied entry to Canada. So I think this as generally speaking battle of good and evil that continues in one way or the other. But I as an optimist, I believe that we should always look towards the positive side of the human nature and join hands with those people, those who are fighting against oppression, suppression, repression, and for the equality of all human beings. As this planet which God has granted us is a beautiful planet. There are 7 billion people on this planet, and even if they become 10 billion, there is enough space and enough to eat. Nature has provided us with everything, and we shouldn't let the devil come in our way and try to usurp the rights of the others by our own hegemonic stuff.
Dr. Amarjeet, it's a personal note. It's I myself, because being an activist, I consider I have nothing personal. My wife, my daughters, my kids, there's nothing personal. Because when I'm enjoying the number one position, they always enjoying. So when I'm doing some shit, so they are no person. Somebody can talk about them. So just tell about how you become a positive, where you studied, when you born, which colleges you go through. It's a particular my viewers all over the world. They want to know that what kind of teachers make you like that.
No, actually, I
Where you born and
I grew up in a family. My father and mother, they were very God-fearing, contented people. My father was a federal employee in the post office at that time.
in USA,
No, in Punjab. way
in
back.
Punjab, India. Okay.
And he made sure that he inculcated the values of honesty and truth in the kids. There was not a single penny which used to come for our household expenditure from any illicit means. That meant he taught us that whatever we have, we should live our lives honestly. Similarly, thankfulness. He always taught us that always thank. And one time he taught us, look at sometimes you kids say that you don't have the branded shoes of Bata or other companies as they were popular at that time. He said, look towards them, those don't have even feet. And you are so thankful that you have shoes in the feet. So I think that what was the family value. I always look towards have-nots first, to be thankful to whatever I have, and then second was to do something for the have-nots so that they are also able to enjoy the
So you're talking about the Punjab Jalandhar, means?
Jalandhar, yes.
And you go to the high school over there?
Yeah, I studied there. I went to med school there. When I came to United States in 80s, I went to the developmentally disabled field in the this medical psychology, where I spent 3-4 years before. In 1991, when I was appointed as the spokesperson to lead the freedoms as in Punjab, that was the time in the 80s when the attack on our sanctum sanctorum has happened. Thousands were killed, and that was the time Punjab was cut off from the rest of the world, as is happening in the Kashmir Valley today. There were two ways for me. One was to pick up the gun, as other youngsters in Punjab are doing, and fight back against the oppression. But by my nature, I didn't have those traits, but I had the undampening spirit and courage to stand for the truth. So I thought that I should get out of the country to tell the story of my people to the outside world. And that was the time when America was not today as is the Trump's America. That was the champion of human rights. India was in the Soviet Union bloc. America was supporting the rights of those who were being denied, supporter of human rights. That is why I chose to come to the United States of America. And since 1991, I had been working full-time as an activist. I was in Washington, D.C., opened the office there in 1994 in the National Press Building. And 7-8 years ago now, we have started a 24-hour TV channel, TV84, which,
TV84 New York based.
which we telecast from here. So I think I am very thankful to God that He has given me strength to move towards that goal, which is of honesty, truthfulness, righteousness, and standing for the rights of oppressed and suppressed.
Dr. Amarjeet, at this moment, I want to say special thanks to your imam, to your mom. She gave us the wonderful brain, a wonderful humanist, and your university professor. Which university you go and what subject you did doctorate?
It was a medical, which is obviously medicine.
Okay.
So here I went to the state hospital studying Agnews and San Jose.
San Jose, California. Okay. Wonderful. I hope your teachers must be proud and you give them the incentives to put more things, because in this country, America and Western, I think schools and universities are failed to produce the gentleman. They can produce the good economist.
Absolutely.
For the Wall Street family. They can produce any killer who can give you the reason with a good brain. Believe me, if there's an American brain in the Hitler's age, you don't need any Goebbels.
And I think
this is my opinion. American brain can give you the
reason I think which we need to understand. The first university or first institution or first alma mater is home, family. So I think the broken homes where 1/3 of the kids are born to unwedded mothers, the drug addicted parents, and then even some carrying those traits in the womb with the kids as well. That is one reason. If the homes are intact and in the family those very values from 3 to 7 years of age are inculcated in the kid, and then certainly schools and colleges and things will be much different than the way the society here in the West, and unfortunately we in the East also have started following this model in the name of freedom. But I think the freedom comes when in the homes you are taught to respect fellow human beings, to respect the nature, to respect your surrounding, and to be thankful to whatever we have gotten. Not complaining always that I don't have this, but always being thankful that I got this.
You are very polite and cultured, not like me, simple straight illiterate. But in my opinion, the European universities and the American journalism is totally failed to serve the humanity. When you backing the occupation, Israel, when you mom anything happen in front of against the humanity, and you think about your greed-based interest, that's called exceptional. Maybe you cannot say, but I'm saying thank you, your sisters, anybody who care about you in childhood and in when you're studying. I want to say thanks. So we owe them thanks. Any message you want to give to your mom?
Oh, actually, I couldn't meet my mom for almost 18, 19 years, as when I started activism here, obviously I was blacklisted by Indian government. My mother couldn't come and she passed away 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was her desire to meet me.
But still she's watching you and happy that you're doing serving the humanity.
No, I think whenever even she was in pain of separation, I used to say, Mom, you are the ones who, along with my dad, you have put me on this path, and I'm trying to stay honest to whatever field I have chosen to stand for the rights of the helpless or those have-nots. So she was happy, no doubt, but certainly mothers are mothers, and as emotional beings for them, their sons and daughters are always very important.
Being an activist for the peace, what do you think that how much danger Modi created at this moment after 5th August?
I think Modi's...
And what should have to do Pakistan, which is the only country who stand with the poor Kashmiris, struggling Kashmiris?
I think the way Modi and RSS, Modi is an outfit of RSS which has a history of 95 years behind it, which was motivated by RSS. RSS was motivated by Nazi ideology. And I think today the 1,300,000,000 people in India, as well as if I may have to count Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Sara countries, it may come closer to 2 billion people, like 1/4 of the humankind approximately. They are in danger. As the way Modi politics is going forward, any further aggression in Azad Kashmir of Pakistan will bring two armies and two countries which are nuclear powered face to face and eye to eye, and eventually no war in future will be with the traditional weapons that will end up as a nuclear disaster. So I am afraid that the building we are standing here,
United Nations building behind us.
They are not even if they would have performed their duty well after passing the resolution of right of self-determination for the Kashmiri people, today we wouldn't have been standing here protesting against what is happening in Kashmir Valley or what is happening in Punjab. So I think unfortunately this time also Western world in general and America and the Security Council in particular either they are mum or they are petting Modi, which is going to be a big disaster. And I think Pakistan under the leadership of Imran Khan, at least one thing I can say, I am a keen observer of Pakistan politics as well, that Imran Khan is an transparently honest person. And in the last 10 months, he tried his best to come on terms with India through the negotiation table. But whatever Modi government has done on August 5th, that has pushed him to the wall as well. And when addressing the Kashmir Assembly in Muzaffarabad, when he said that now we will teach you a lesson if you try to dare and do anything, any further harm and sided with the Kashmiri people. I think something needs to be done by the international community to resolve this situation, to make something so that India and Pakistan don't go on war against each other.
So when you said you know everything about Pakistan, you remember that people who looted the country, like a generals, like a Nawaz Sharif, like a Zardari, they're blaming that Imran Khan, you posing Pakistan as a weakest, as a weak nation who cannot take a stand for the right. So how do you feel about it?
I think it is too early to judge Imran Khan's performance vis-a-vis leader. Whatever he has shown in the post-Pulwama period, it was restraint, it was a military rebuff, at the same time a statesman-like behavior. But as I said, it is too early to judge, but to me, he is a man who understands the international politics. He is the man, at least corruption charges against him are not there. We haven't seen yet. And at the same time, I think he is a very dedicated man without any inferiority complex. He knows how to talk sitting in front of the Gora people here and in Europe, which complex the other people had, particularly our South Asian leaders they have when they sit in front of a Western head of the state. So I think I am an admirer of Imran Khan for the reason that at least he did his best to create an environment of peace so that problems of India and Pakistan can be resolved through dialogue. And secondly, as a Sikh, I feel thankful that for the 72 years what Sikhs were desiring and praying, Kartarpur, which is our Medina where Guru Nanak Sahib is resting today.
The holy place for the
holy
Sikh.
place, and that is like our Medina for the
like
Sikhs.
a Pope living in Italy,
and
Vatican.
He opened, he laid the foundation stone for it on November 28, 2018. And this year, as it is the 550th birth anniversary of Baba Nanak, his desire was and is that Sikh should
What do you call it, Baba Nanak? What does mean Nanak?
Nanak is name of the founder of the Sikh faith.
And Baba...
Yes, and it's not any specific meaning.
I thought it's like a Carnatic people, Carnatic or something.
No,
Nanak.
that's not a name of the state. It's Baba Nanak, as we say. Baba is respectful, Nanak was his name.
Okay. I hope that you as a positive, you must have very positive opinion regarding about tomorrow, 16th August 2019, session of the Security Council called by the Pakistan for the talk and the dialogue.
I have seen this news that China has also written to Security Council, but it's not a session. I think it will be an informal, firstly talk with the members.
Okay.
And it's not that Pakistan or Indian representatives will be there. And in this informal chat, what comes out, I hope that serious something is done so that India is held accountable for its act of violating international law, violating UN Security Council resolution, and even violating its own constitution by abrogating Article.
You see that when you talk person, learned person, he declared that tomorrow is not a Security Council, this is an informal kind of... So thank you. Even Pakistani government not showing this thing.
No.
They're posing this is a Security Council session. Or India... So you see, that's the result to talk to the learned man. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.